Working with real estate agents disclosure for buyers. When you're looking to buy a home, one thing that's very important for you to know is the difference between who is working for you and who is working with you. So the North Carolina Real Estate Commission put together this disclosure to let you know the different types of agency relationships you may see when you're buying a home. And it's important that the agents that you reach out to review this with you so that you understand the different options you have when it comes to representation. For example, when you're buying a home, you may want a firm or an agent to represent you exclusively as a buyer's agent. Or you may be willing for them to work with both you and the seller at the same time as a dual agent. You might even prefer to be unrepresented and work with what's called a seller's agent. Now, some brokers may offer you choices between these services, while others may not. Regardless of how you choose to be represented, the agent that you work with must treat you honestly, must treat you fairly, and they must disclose all material facts that they know about a property or should know about a property that could affect your decision in the transaction. Now, the significant thing about this form is that signing it does not obligate you to working with the agent that provided it to you. It's simply an acknowledgement that you've received it and that it's been reviewed. And it even says so at the top. This is not a contract. So let's quickly break down what it includes. There are 4 scenarios that this form covers. The first scenario is called buyer's agency. This is one of the most common scenarios you'll see when buying. And this happens when you find a property and you're represented by one firm and the seller is represented by a completely different firm. 2 different firms, each party has their own representation. So someone's in each person's corner to advocate, to negotiate in their behalf, and to represent their individual best interests. This is what's called buyer's agency. The second scenario is what's called dual agency. This happens when you choose a property and the firm that represents you also represents the seller at the same time. So one firm representing both parties. And dual agency is also very common, especially when you're working with an agent who's part of a larger firm that has lots of listings. Now, in a standard dual agency situation, the firm has to remain neutral, kind of like a referee, and they can't interject themselves when it comes to negotiations. But my firm offers a specific type of dual agency called designated agency. And what this means is that if you move forward with a property where one firm represents both buyer and seller at the same time, one agent will be designated to represent the buyer, while a different agent will be designated to represent the seller. This type of dual agency is what allows each party to still have an advocate in their corner to negotiate and represent their individual best interests. And the last option that you may see is what's called an unrepresented buyer or a seller sub-agent. There are folks that choose not to be represented at all when it comes to buying a property. They may feel that they don't need an advocate or negotiation or representation. So this is listed here to show that this is an option if you choose to go that route. And that's it for the Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure for buyers. Are you ready to move on? Let's go for it.